And staying with cricket, so bringing it back to South Africa, this year marks the 40th year of the Cricket South Africa mini cricket program. The grassroot development project has been the seed for the likes of current limited overs captain Temba Bavuma, test captain Dean Elgar and women's captain Dane van Niekerk. To speak more about how the Federation will mark the significant year is the Federation CEO, Pholetsi Moseki. A very good evening and welcome to Newzroom Afrika once again. How has the Federation managed to get development so right and so sustainable?
I think it's quite easy for me to answer that. This is my second seminar that I'm attending, and the people who are basically there, they are the unsung heroes. Earlier this morning during the seminar, I said they're the heart and soul of cricket, of our pipeline development, and it's just amazing, being in the same room as them. And, I'm so sure that this program will continue for the next 40 years, purely because of the people who are supporting.
Mr. Moseki, will you just tell us what actually happened? You're currently in the Northwest. You mentioned there's a seminar and volunteerism is in the spotlight. These are the people that have really been driving this program for the last 40 years, and it also starts off the celebrations for what is a milestone year in cricket development here in South Africa.
No, absolutely. It is no doubt the biggest program of its kind on the continent, And as you said, it's really about volunteerism. These teachers, these coaches, these coordinators are doing this for the love of the game, And they are so important for our pipeline because, as you mentioned a few Proteas, including our captains. But a lot of Protea players, both men and women, really had their first taste of cricket through the mini cricket program. But today what also came out, there's quite a lot of administrators who basically tasted cricket through the mini cricket development itself, mini cricket program itself. So it is so important for our own pipeline as an organization, as cricket in South Africa. Because not everyone will become a Protea player or a professional player, but others will be administrators more than anything else. Some of them become fans for life, which is really what we want. So you're currently speaking about over 110,000 kids who are on this program, with over 10,000 volunteer teachers and coordinators working on it, And as you said, volunteering, so they don't get paid. It's purely for the love of the game, It's something, contributing to something that's far bigger than them. And for that, we are utterly grateful.
Mr. Moseki, is it because cricket is the kind of sport that it is that you have managed to tailor this program to be the success story that it is? Or what is some of the key advice that you would give, the nuggets of wisdom that you would give to other sporting codes that really need to get their development right?
I think it's a combination. You are correct. Cricket is quite loved in South Africa. And I think we're literally the only sport that's got really the most diverse, support base of all the big sporting codes in the country. So that is quite important. But they're partners. And here I'm talking about, in the past it was Bakers, but now we've got KFC, who have been brilliant for over a decade now. But the volunteers themselves, So it's a combination of all those things. But without the partners, like being commercial partners, being KFC in this case, or the volunteers themselves, the schools, the clubs, everyone else, then it definitely wouldn't work. COVID was quite brutal to the program. It lost a few schools, a few kids, and a few few coaches. But there is still such an amazing love for it that everyone has basically dedicated themselves to making it even bigger and better.
This is the 13th season that KFC are going to be sponsoring this program, but the Federation, going through the tumultuous years that it has gone through, lost a number of major sponsors. How did KFC remain?
I think, as I said, everyone understands this is far bigger than all of us. It's bigger than Pholetsi, it's bigger than even KFC. Hence, KFC, they never even at any time threatened to pull out of it because we understand, we are trying to change lives. We're trying to build a sport that's actually bigger than all the individuals that are within the system itself. I always say that we're just temporary custodians of cricket, at head office as an example. But KFC understood that you need this space for the continuous growth of cricket because it is too important for the country, for it to collapse. So KFC has been an amazing partner in that sense because even during COVID, even during that tumultuous era that you spoke about, it was always how do we basically make sure the program becomes bigger and better? How do we actually consolidate during those difficulties that we had over the last 2 years with COVID as an example? So they always basically on the table to say, how do we actually consolidate? And when we are ready again, we start basically rebuilding, which is basically what we want to do now.
Your new director of cricket, Inokungwe, was present. He's also going to be addressing the volunteers who become some of the youngsters' first coaches that are a part of this program. Is he sharing his playing philosophy and what he'd like to see in cricket over the next 18 months with these coaches who are so crucial in the pipeline of development?
Not currently, it was more at a high level. I think the seminar is really to celebrate these unsung heroes, so it was not really that type of talk shop, Enoch himself, I think, got a taste of cricket from this program as well, so it was really celebrating what mini cricket has meant for a whole lot of people. As I said, I was so amazed of the number of administrators within the system who basically came through this thing. So he didn't really share that type of details. He'll be having a national conference with all the coaches, I think, in a month or so. So for this week, for this few days, is really to celebrate these heroes who are, as I said, the life and blood of our development and pipeline.
How has he settled in?
It's been quite busy, eh? It feels like it's been a month, and he was only appointed literally a week ago, So it's been quite hectic, but I think he was always ready. He's ready for the challenge. He's quite excited. I think you might have seen even last week, when he had a presser, he is quite excited. He's got amazing plans for the system, for cricket itself. So he's definitely excited.
What is Cricket South Africa's mandate for him?
Well, there's so much talent in the country, but I guess for us is for him to really, really have structures. But it's not like we don't have structures at the moment, but just to rebuild, to build on whatever we've got now. So we basically do become better. And, ultimately, obviously, win the work, a couple of World Cups. It is quite important. But it's really about, reinforcing the structures that we've got from, our pipeline from mini cricket level, but all the way to the Proteas, So he does have, a massive, massive role and, huge responsibility on his shoulders. But I think in 5 years' time, him and I will definitely be happy if we would have won a few World Cups across our national teams.
A few World Cups. Does that include this year's T20 World Cup for the men?
We're going to win a few of them. So we're starting obviously in Australia, but there's also the Women's World Cup next year. But we also have the Under-19 World Cup for the girls next year. So there's a number of World Cups in the horizon. And the big one is in 2027. So definitely we want to win a few. I think as a country we are way overdue for World Cups. And I think everyone really, really wants it. Even the players themselves. I think KG spoke earlier. That they all want it. Everyone wants it, and we know that we are talented enough to actually get a few of them. So it is going to be quite important for us to target all of them.
Mr. Moseki, can you maybe just help us, because we are not privy as the public to the organization's organogram. What are the responsibilities between your director of cricket and your head coaches? If you say that a couple of World Cups are something that you'd like to see your new director of cricket win, so how much of a responsibility is that his, and how much of a responsibility is that of the head coaches?
Obviously, the DOC is an executive role, so it is technically more an office-based role, but he is responsible for the whole strategy of the cricket. Hence, people think that the DOC is responsible for Proteas. No, the DOC is literally responsible for cricket for the whole pipeline, from mini cricket all the way to the Proteas. So we'll be working with all the coaches. We'll be working with all the, the development guys, as you said, So he's really responsible for the whole strategy of our cricket in the country, from grassroots level all the way to professional level, all the way to Protea level. But he will be working a lot with the coaches. It's not like suddenly he'll be going there to coach with either Hilton or Mark Boucher. No, that's not his role. It's really to provide an overall strategy for our whole cricket ecosystem so that we can do better. That's really his key responsibility.
When he was outlining
in the board, in the locker room or anything like that. No.
Okay. When he was outlining his 18-month plan, one of the things that he said was actually getting the Proteas men to the Test Championship finals. Is there going to be renewed focus on the longer format of the game?
We've always been quite focused on it. Obviously the team went through some rebuilding process. But if you notice, we are currently number 2 on the rankings. And if we do maintain that, we'll obviously be in the final next year. So we've always been quite passionate. I, as an individual, probably that's my favorite format, So we've always been quite passionate. But I think what happened, obviously, the transition. You remember that over the last 2 years, we lost a lot of our key players, So it was just bound that that will stumble a bit. But I think the guys are finally finding their rhythm. The coach and the captain will probably say they're not there yet, but they are definitely showing really, really good signs. Hence, we're currently number 2 on the table for the World Test Championship. And I do hope that we'll be in the final next year.
Cricket South Africa CEO Pholetsi Moseki, thank you very much for chatting to us. And congratulations on 40 years of a fantastic grassroots development program.